Her husband and 8-year-old son vanished from a cruise ship, and no one else on board remembered they were ever there. Security said she traveled alone. The passenger list said she was alone. Even the photos on her phone showed nothing but empty chairs. For 10 years, she searched, screamed, waited, grieved. Then one morning, in a box of old vacation souvenirs, she found a folded note. It was signed with her husband's name, and what it said changed everything. Her name was Leah Moore, 36 years old, first-time cruise passenger, wife to David Moore, mother to Jonah, a boy who loved bananas and bedtime stories and could never sleep without his stuffed monkey, Ollie. They boarded the Celestia Dream on June 11, 2006. Miami to the Bahamas. 7 days. Luxury oceanfront cabin. Everything prepaid. Everything planned. Everything perfect. It was their first real vacation since Jonah was born. David worked in finance. Leah taught kindergarten. They'd barely had time to breathe, let alone escape. But that summer, Leah's father passed away, left them a small inheritance. And for the first time in years, they chose to do something just for themselves. Just the three of them. The Celestia Dream was more than a ship. It was a city floating on glass. Pools, theaters, a piano bar, and food, all the food Jonah could dream of. Leah remembered the moment they stepped onto Deck 5. Jonah ran ahead, pointing at a giant ice sculpture. David laughed, camera swinging from his neck. It was the kind of laugh Leah hadn't heard since before the bills piled up, before the world got heavy. That night, they danced. All three of them. David held Leah's hand. Jonah twirled in circles until he fell. And somewhere, someone took a picture. Day 2 passed like a dream. They visited the top deck. Leah and David held tropical drinks. Jonah posed a man in a dolphin costume. They ate dinner, watched fireworks, and as the sky turned orange and the ocean turned black, Leah whispered to David, "I want to remember this forever." He kissed her temple. "You will." But forever came crashing down on day 3. Leah woke up around 2:43 a.m. The air in the room felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. The kind of silence that feels thick, like something's pressing in from all sides. She reached for David. Nothing. Jonah? Silence. She sat up. The room was dark, shades drawn, bathroom door open. But no one was inside. She checked the hallway. Then the stairwell. Deck 7. Deck 5. Buffet. Pool. Nothing. By 3:25 a.m., she was at the front desk barefoot, clutching her key card like it meant something. "My son and my husband are missing." The crew member smiled gently. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Are you saying you're waiting for them to arrive?" "No. They were with me in cabin 8C. My son's name is Jonah Moore. He's 8. My husband's David Moore. They boarded with me." The woman looked at the computer, brows furrowed. "There's no one by those names on this ship." Leah froze. "What?" Cabin 8C was checked in by Leah Moore. Alone. No other names listed. "That's wrong. We have photos. Jonah had a stuffed monkey. His name is Ollie. David. He wore a blue polo. Please, just check again." The woman hesitated. "I'm sorry. Perhaps you're remembering something that didn't happen. Cruise fatigue can cause." Leah slammed her fist on the counter. They were real. Security came. They walked her back to 8C. She opened her phone. The camera roll was filled with ocean shots. Buffet food. A towel folded into a swan. But every photo that should have shown her family was empty. One picture, where Jonah had slipped while dancing, showed only a bare spot on the deck. She checked her suitcase. Jonah's clothes? Gone. His monkey? Gone. David's shaving kit? Gone. The wedding photo she always packed? Gone. Even the emergency contact card in her wallet had changed. It no longer listed David. It listed her sister, who, when called, said Leah always travels solo. They told her she was under stress. That perhaps she imagined it, that the ocean does strange things to the mind. But Leah knew. She remembered the way David held her hand, the way Jonah curled up in her lap when the ship rocked too hard. They weren't dreams. They were real, and something wanted her to forget. That night, she wandered the hallways. Every face looked unfamiliar. No one had seen David. No one remembered Jonah, except one, an elderly woman on deck 6. She stared at Leah for a moment too long. "Your boy," she whispered. "He liked banana pudding, didn't he?" Leah's heart nearly exploded. Yes, he... "I'm sorry," the woman said, quickly turning away. "I must have confused you with someone else." She walked off, fast, too fast. Leah returned to her cabin and locked the door. She sat on the floor, opened her notebook, and began writing. June 11th, Jonah boarded the ship. He wore shark trunks. Ollie was in his hand. David carried the blue duffel. We had lunch. We danced. We existed. We existed. At dawn, she stood by the window. The sea stretched on forever. But somewhere in that silence, Leah heard a whisper, not in her ears, in her bones. Find him. She didn't know who to trust, or how far the lie went, but she would not leave that ship until she found out what happened to her son. And that was a beginning. Some people say the sea forgets, but Leah Moore didn't believe that. Not anymore. Not after what the sea had taken from her and what the ship had tried to erase. She stood on deck 5 for nearly 2 hours that morning, gripping the railing so tightly her knuckles turned white. The wind stung her cheeks. The waves murmured beneath her. But nothing answered. Not the sky. Not the sea. Not even the God she once believed in. By sunrise on day 4, Leah went back to Captain Willem Frost. Stoic, symmetrical, a man who spoke like facts were gospel and feelings were fog. She told him everything. Again, about David, about Jonah, about the dolphin show, the stuffed monkey, the missing clothes, the photos that changed. He offered her coffee. She asked for help. He offered her rest. She asked for the truth. "Miss Moore," he said calmly, "the ship's manifest lists only one passenger registered to cabin 8C. You. We have no record of your husband or child. No meals charged to them. No photos. No key swipes. No camera footage." "You're wrong," she whispered. "We're not." Leah stood up, shaking. "No, you are. Or this ship is lying. Or someone is covering something up." Captain Frost didn't flinch. He nodded toward the security guard. "We'll have someone checking on you. Maybe a session with the ship's counselor will help clarify things. Clarify things." As if she didn't remember the weight of Jonah sleeping against her shoulder just 36 hours ago. As if she didn't remember the way David leaned over the railing, joking that the sea would swallow them whole if they didn't make it back in time for the all-you-can-eat buffet. As if they were never real. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat on the floor of her cabin with every light on, writing their names over and over in her notebook. Jonah, David, Jonah, David, Jonah, David. She drew their faces. Jonah's crooked teeth, David's camera bag, Jonah's monkey, Ollie. She pinned the drawings to the wall. She needed the walls to remember, even if the ship wouldn't. On day 5, something changed. Around 3:10 a.m., Leah wandered into the crew hallway near the lower decks. It was quieter there, emptier, and colder. A man was mopping the floor near a vending machine that buzzed like it had secrets. He glanced at her. "You okay?" he asked. She looked hollow. "No." He paused. "I think I saw you." She turned sharply. "When?" "First day. Boarding. You weren't alone. There was a kid. A man." Her breath caught. "What's your name?" "Eli," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "I work nights. Janitorial. Do you remember anything else?" Eli glanced around, leaned closer. "I probably shouldn't be saying this, but weird stuff happens on this ship sometimes. Things go missing. Files don't match. People forget what they saw." Leah's hands trembled. "I'm not crazy." "I don't think you are." He pulled a key from his pocket. "Come with me." He led her down to Deck 0, the part of the ship passengers never see. The walls were gray. No music, just pipes and metal and the slow, low hum of engines and memory. Eli opened a locked door marked Maintenance Archive. Inside were crates, boxes of cruise photos, the kind staff take of families boarding the ship. He dug through them, muttering. Then he froze. "Here." He handed her a photo. Leah gasped. It was from boarding day. There she was, David behind her, Jonah holding Ollie, smiling, alive, real. "I knew it," she whispered. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the photo. "I knew it." Eli looked unsettled. "This shouldn't be here. This should be in the database." "But it's not, which means someone deleted it." "Why?" He shook his head. "I don't know, but you're not crazy." She returned to the captain with the photo. "This proves it. Look, my family. They were here." He stared at it a long moment. Then something strange passed across his face. Recognition, maybe, or fear. He closed the file slowly. "Where did you find this?" "In your own ship storage." "Why?" "It doesn't exist in our system." "But it's real." He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to his monitor, pulled up a security feed from day 1. Leah on Deck 5, alone, looking over the ocean. But there, in the reflection of the glass wall, beside her, a child, faint, small, holding a stuffed animal. She gasped, "You see him, don't you?" The captain leaned back. His eyes were unreadable. "This ship," he said quietly, "has over 3,000 passengers, and more secrets than water beneath its hull." "What does that mean?" He didn't answer, just stood and opened the door. This conversation never happened. That night, Leah cried in the bathroom. She clutched the photo like a lifeline. Jonah, David, her family. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't alone. They had been here. Someone had erased them, and she was going to find out who or what had the power to do that. Then came day 6, the final full day at sea. The ship was returning to Miami. She walked the deck at dawn. Fog, wind, silence, and then something caught her eye. Near the base of a lifeboat, a tiny bracelet, colorful beads, worn elastic, spelled out in shaky letters, JONH. She fell to her knees. The salt in the air blurred her vision. Or maybe that was grief. This wasn't a coincidence. Jonah had worn that bracelet every day since kindergarten. It was his. It was real, and it was still here. She looked up at the vast blue above her, and for the first time in days, she didn't feel crazy. She felt hunted, watched, and certain. They were on this ship, or they had been, and someone had tried to erase them, but they failed, because Leah remembered, and she would not stop, not until she brought the truth back from whatever deep place they'd buried it. Leah had thought the bracelet enough, but she was wrong. The ship's halls had begun to echo, not with voices, but with her own footsteps chasing ghosts. By late morning on day 7, she had done something reckless. She slipped into Deck 0 again, the empty engine decks. No crew noticed. She ducked behind pipes and walked toward the metal storage corridors. Using Eli's directions, she found a server room marked Security Archive. Inside, banks of humming machines recorded every camera feed, every card swipe, every security interaction. She pressed her hand to the metal panel. Cold, solid. She had no idea how to access it, but she had nothing left to lose. She left and climbed to Deck 12. The Wi-Fi lounge had a tech kiosk. She logged in as a guest. She typed Security Archive in the search bar by chance or fate. A prompt popped up. Username. Password. Her pulse hammered. She closed her eyes. Leah Moore, Pa, $W0RD. Enter. It worked. She stared at the screen, then hesitated for a heartbeat, then dove in. Whoever set up the system buried years of video footage beneath generic folders. She searched cabin 8C. A list popped up. June 11, day 1 to 1423 HRS, uploaded. June 12, day 2 to 1905 HRS, uploaded. June 13th, day 3 to 244 HRS, upload failed. June 14th, day 4 to 712, uploaded. June 15th, day 5, no data. And June 16th, day 6 to 610 HRS, uploaded. All timestamps align with her memory. She clicked day 1. The view of Deck 5 mid-afternoon. There, her family, laughing around the ice sculpture. Jonah pulling David's shirt. Ollie clutched in his free hand. Behind them, a photographer taking the shot. She pressed play. They moved like a living memory. Her heart thundered. She clicked day 3. The no record line she'd been told. But the file still existed. Uploaded at 2:44. Deck 7 corridor. It showed her, pale, running with a hair-tied ponytail, through the hallway, past staterooms, into a stairwell. She followed her own leg on the screen, running barefoot, breathing fast. Behind her, footsteps. Child's footsteps. Jonah's footsteps. She couldn't tell from the angle, but there was someone there. Something else. A shadow. She threw the laptop. It crashed on the floor of the lounge. The tech attendant looked up. She didn't say a word as Leah bolted out. In the hallway, a man in uniform waited. Captain Frost. He spoke without raising his voice. You have something I need. She squeezed a bracelet in her pocket. That evidence exists. He nodded once. Follow me. She trailed him down to the Grand Theater on Deck 10. Empty now except for chairs and stage lights off. He closed the door. You were not supposed to see that. She kept breathing. Why delete the recordings? He paused. Because people like you chase ghosts. And ghosts collapse reality. Leah shook her head. No, you deleted it because you wanted them to vanish. He didn't argue. They were causing a liability. People don't just vanish. They do on this ship. She stared at him. He looked older than she'd first thought. Lines around his mouth. Gray in his beard. I didn't set this up, he said quietly. But once it was set, I realized how deep the hole went. Leah stepped forward. And you want to help? He sighed. I don't know if I can, but I want to stop it from happening again. She sank into a chair. Then start with me. He shook his head. I need your trust. Earn it. He stared at her, then parted his lips, marooned in the silence of that empty theater. Truth felt slow but present. He told her things. About lost registrations. About children who vanished for a night and reappeared. With families who insisted they'd never left. about the server that failed during upload, about a cleanup crew replacing footage with blank video, and about a secret file labeled Subject J, a folder only accessible with admin privileges. He deleted it quietly that night. He would restore it tomorrow. Leah left the ship's theater with more questions than answers, but for the first time not alone. She walked back to her cabin, stared at the pinboard, the sketch of Jonah's face. She placed the photo Eli had found beside it. It wasn't proof, but it was memory. Her heart felt heavy with it, and angry. Night fell again. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling lights, imagining Jonah's face. He had to be somewhere. She pressed her palm to the nightstand, searched for the shape of his monkey, then stopped, because the nightstand was empty. She realized again the lengths they'd gone to erase him, and no one had expected her determination. Day 8, the final morning. Leah went to breakfast. She sat at an empty table, ordered coffee, watched the room fill, families chatting, kids running, and not one child looked like Jonah. Not one. She sipped slowly, then stood and walked through the dining hall. She asked every child their name. They all answered. Then she asked them to say, Ollie. Every child laughed and repeated after her, except one, a boy seated alone in the corner. He looked up at her, mouth closed, eyes dark. Jonah's eyes. She froze, approached. Hi, I'm Leah. He didn't speak. She dropped to her knees. You don't know me, but I know you. He blinked. Then he spoke. Why? She caught her breath. Why what? Why are you lying? His voice was small, but clear. The room hushed around them. He looked just like Jonah. Same brown eyes. Same scar above the brow. Same silence. Heavy, watchful. The kind of silence that once wrapped itself around Leah's son during thunderstorms, when he was 5 and afraid to sleep. But the boy in front of her wasn't calling her mama. He was calling her a liar. And that was worse. Leah watched as the boy, called Adam, was gently led away by a woman she didn't recognize. The woman had the poise of someone who had practiced being seen as normal, but her eyes said otherwise. Too calm, too empty, like someone rehearsing someone else's life. Leah stood frozen in the dining room as the sound returned. Clinking silverware, laughter, napkins folding, and the boy was gone again, but not before he turned over his shoulder and gave her a final look, one that asked, Why didn't you come sooner? That night, Leah couldn't sleep. Her dreams were made of waves, dark hands in dark corridors, soft humming, a lullaby she once sang to Jonah in the hospital when he had pneumonia at 6, and then silence, the silence of absence, the silence of something being erased. At dawn, she went to find Eli. She knocked twice on the maintenance locker below deck 1. He opened the door, shirt half wrinkled, eyes wary. I need more, she said. Anything, everything. Eli hesitated, then handed her a flash drive. This is all I could pull from the mainframe before they caught on. What's on it? Internal logs. Deleted security footage. One file I haven't opened. Why? He looked down. Because it's labeled Final Session Jam. Her heart stopped. Jonah Moore. She ran back to her cabin, locked the door, plugged in the drive. There it was, a single file, MP4, titled Final Session M8CMOV. She clicked play. Grainy footage. A dark room. One chair. One child. Hands in his lap. Jonah, wearing a gray hoodie. Sleeves too long. No stuffed monkey. Eyes rimmed red. He looked scared, but not broken. A voice off screen. Tell me again. Who is Leah Moore? Jonah's voice was small. My mom. Are you sure? He nods. Yes. She never boarded the ship. You were found alone. No, Jonah says. She was there. She sang me the star song. Silence. The voice returns, colder. That never happened. Yes, it did. You've been very brave, Jonah. But it's time to stop pretending. Jonah shakes his head. I'm not pretending. Then the video distorts. Glitches. Garbled audio. And cuts to black. Leah stared at the screen, heart pounding so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. They'd interrogated her son. Alone. Without her. Tried to unmake his memory. Reprogram him into someone else. Into Adam. Her breath shook as she backed away from the laptop. This wasn't just a ship with bad records. This was deliberate. Calculated. She wasn't crazy. They were erasing children. Reassigning them. She rushed to Eli. They took him. They took my son and gave him to someone else. He nodded, quiet. They have ways of hiding things. Legally, medically, psychologically. There are families at board with placements. Children whose history isn't verified. Why? Eli looked haunted. Because no one checks after the first 72 hours at sea. And when the ship hits international waters. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Later that day, Leah confronted Captain Frost. I saw the file, she said, breathless. He didn't deny it. I told you, he said softly. Ghosts are hard to manage. That's not a ghost. That's my child. Captain Frost exhaled. I tried to stop them. I stalled the database update. But this ship, it belongs to more than me. There are people with names you'll never hear. And they profit when a file disappears. What are you saying? I'm saying they'll let you leave with him. But only if you leave quietly. Her hand shook. And if I don't? He looked her in the eyes. Then no one will remember you, either. Leah spent the next 24 hours preparing. She sent every video, file, and photo to 4 secure email addresses. She wrote a letter to her sister. A will. A final note. Just in case. Then she walked to cabin 14A. Where Adam slept, she knocked. The woman opened the door. Before she could scream, Leah handed her the flash drive. Play this. The woman blinked. What? Play it. Then tell me he's not mine. Leah walked away. Didn't sleep that night. Didn't blink. At 7:12 a.m., a knock came. The woman stood there. Eyes bloodshot. The boy behind her. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't know. Jonah stepped forward. Looked up. Mom. Leah dropped to her knees. Wrapped him up like she'd never let go again, and whispered through tears. I found you. Leah held him for a long time, longer than the clocks allowed, longer than the ship's schedule could tolerate. Jonah smelled the same, like oatmeal and ocean air, but something inside him had shifted, had been bent. She felt it in his breath, in the way he held her, not tight like a son reunited, but tentative. Like a child unsure if love was permanent. The woman, the one who had claimed him, stood off to the side. Her hand shook. Leah turned toward her. What's your name? The woman blinked. Hannah. Hannah Wells. You believed he was yours? Hannah nodded slowly. They told me his parents were addicts, that he'd been abandoned, that I was giving him a better life. I didn't ask questions. Leah's voice was hollow. Where did you find him? He wasn't on the ship manifest at first. We were docked in Costa Rica. I went to the crew daycare, and there he was. No tags, no guardian, just sitting. He looked at me like I was already his mother. She wiped her eyes. I never imagined. Jonah hid behind Leah's arm. Hannah stepped back. I understand. He's yours." Then she turned and walked away. They were docked in Nassau now. Final port. Last day. The sky was gray. The air still. Leah walked Jonah up to deck 14, the observation deck. She wanted him to see the ocean. But Jonah didn't look at the water. He looked at his shoes. Then finally, quietly, "Did I do something bad?" Her heart shattered. "No. Baby, no. They said I was pretending." "You weren't. They made me write your name over and over and then cross it out." She blinked, horrified. "They told me I dreamed you." Leah knelt. "You did nothing wrong." Jonah looked up. "But I stopped remembering your face." A tear slipped down her cheek. "That's okay. I remembered yours." Eli found them an hour later. "There's something you need to see," he said. They followed him to a part of the ship no passenger had ever been. Below deck 0, deeper than cargo holds. A hatch. A sealed sublevel. He turned a key, when he wasn't supposed to have, and pulled open the iron door. A long tunnel. Concrete. Fluorescent lights. Maintenance level? Leah asked. Eli shook his head. Not exactly. This wasn't in any of the blueprints. They walked. The walls became smooth steel. Then finally, a room with desks, computers, monitors, cameras, files. Eli pointed. There were photos pinned to a corkboard, dozens of children, all with red excess across them, except one. Jonah. His photo had a green check mark. Below it, a printed tag that read, Tier 3, Successful Reassignment. Leah's throat closed. What the hell is this? Eli's voice was low. I think it's a program. They find children no one's looking for or convince parents they don't exist and then reassign them. Why? Money, power, control. I don't know. Jonah looked at his photo. That's me, he whispered. Leah turned and grabbed a binder off the table. Inside, reports, psychological evaluations dossiers. It was real, all of it, and not just Jonah. Dozens, maybe hundreds, from different cruises, different ships, different years. Some were marked lost. Others, erasure failed. But most were marked complete. Leah's eyes narrowed. We're going to burn it all. She gave the drive to the local police when they docked. They smiled, nodded, filed a report, and did nothing. Not one call came after that. Not one email. Not one apology. The ship was already cleaned. The logs deleted. Eli's ID badge deactivated. Hannah gone. As if none of it happened. As if Jonah had never been found. But Leah had the files. She sent them out to every journalist she could find, every whistleblower site, every investigator with a soul. Some responded. Most didn't. Those who did, they warned her to stay quiet, to stop pushing, to disappear if she wanted to live. She didn't. She stayed. And every day, she told Jonah one more story from the life they stole from him, one memory at a time, like stitching a soul back together. One night, months later, Jonah asked, Do you think the others are still out there? Leah nodded. I think they are. Will we help them? She kissed his forehead. Yes. But there was one thing Leah hadn't told him, one file she hadn't shared, a note buried in the folder labeled Final. More Leah. Subject retained trace memories despite purge protocol. Watch list. Threat level 2. Beneath that, in red, if she ever finds Subject Jam again, initiate phase 2. She deleted it, not because she was afraid, but because she didn't care what phase 2 meant. They'd taken everything, and she'd gotten it back. Whatever came next, she was ready. It began again with the humming, soft at first, almost imagined, A vibration through the floorboards, the light bulbs, the windows. Then louder. Not outside. Inside. Inside their new home. Inside Leah's head. Inside Jonah's dreams. One night, in early spring, Jonah sat up straight in bed. "Don't go," he whispered. Leah stirred beside him. "What, baby?" He was pale, lips trembling. "They said you'll forget me again." She pulled him close. "I never forgot you, but they said you would this time." 3 days later, their mailbox was broken into. A single white envelope placed inside. No return address. No stamps. Only 3 words. Phase 2 begins. Leah called Eli. He hadn't picked up in months. Hadn't responded to emails. She'd assumed he was laying low. Now, she wondered if he was even alive. So she called a contact, one of the few journalists who believed her, a woman named Candace, based out of Portland. She remembered Leah instantly. "Tell me everything," Candace said. Leah didn't hold back. The drive, the reassignment room, the faces of the other children. Candace promised to come the next day. She never arrived. Her number was disconnected by morning. And her website? Wiped clean. That same night, Leah noticed a car parked across from their home. No plates. No movement. But every few minutes, a flash of blue light from inside. Like a screen recording something. She told Jonah to stay inside. Closed the blinds. Sat in the hallway with her back against the door. She'd done this before, in the weeks after he disappeared. Waiting, watching, hoping. Now it was different. Now she was ready. Jonah started drawing again. He used to love art when he was little. Dinosaurs, rockets, ocean creatures. But these drawings were different. Shapes, symbols, a dark hallway over and over. Each drawing deeper, darker, more twisted. One night, Leah asked him, "Where is this place?" He looked up without blinking. "It's where they make the dreams go away." Leah found another hidden file in the old flash drive. Eli had tucked it inside a decoy folder, junk code, barely visible. It was labeled MKC. Inside, diagrams, timelines, case reports, cruise ships used as processing stations, passengers who forgot things, children relocated, memories disrupted, a pattern going back decades. She cross-referenced names. 3 children listed as vanished. In 2003 were later found adopted under sealed records in Sweden with new birth certificates. 2 more from 1989, 1 from 2011, and 1 name she never expected to see. Eli Morgan, Tier 1 subject, relocated 1994, reintegrated as crew 2009. Her stomach turned. Eli hadn't just found the ship. He'd come from it. She drove to the old marina where the ship had once docked. It wasn't there anymore, but the sign remained. Nova Cruises, a journey beyond memory. She remembered that slogan. She remembered what it cost. Inside the abandoned office, she found a file cabinet still locked. She smashed it open. Inside, old manifests, itineraries, printed communications, and a single photograph. Jonah, sitting next to another boy, pale, serious, holding a chess piece. On the back, subject JM8C, test A3, companion assigned, Leo. Leo, she didn't recognize him. But Jonah had drawn him again and again. That night, she showed him the photo. "Who is this?" Jonah's hand trembled. "He stayed after they took me. They said he didn't belong anywhere. So they made him stay." "Stay where?" Jonah looked down. Below the ship, she found the journalist's backup email on an old forum. Candace had gone dark, but her files hadn't. One upload. hidden on a private server, a video file, grainy, night vision, inside a shipping container, children sleeping in rows, a voice whispering, "They make us forget with light." Then a man's face in the camera. Eli, not smiling, whispering, "If you're seeing this, it means I failed." But maybe she didn't. Leah knew what she had to do. They had left too many holes, too many loose threads, too many children, like Jonah, who still dreamed in codes and corridors. She booked 2 one-way tickets to a port in Panama. That's where the trail led next. That's where the new ship was rumored to be launching. A different name, a different face, same ghost underneath. At the airport, Leah handed the ticket agent her ID. She smiled down at Jonah. He held her hand tightly. She looked at him. "You ready?" He nodded and whispered, "If they try to take me again..." Leah knelt. "They won't." She didn't say, "I promise." Not this time. Because promises didn't work against shadows. Only truth did. And truth needed to be dragged into the light, even if it screamed. The heat in Panama hung like wet fabric. Thick, clinging. Leah had expected something humid. But not this. This silent wall of sweat and suspicion that met her the moment she stepped off the plane. The port was different now. No banners. No cruise ads. No ticket counters or smiling agents. Just rusted gates. And one black van parked beside a warehouse with the windows painted over. Inside the warehouse, the dock floor had been repurposed. Stacks of crates lined the far corners. And at the center, tethered to the pier like a forgotten beast, a ship, massive, colorless, its hull a deep matte gray. No name on the side. No flag. No crew. Jonah whispered, "Is that it?" Leah nodded. She could feel the air change, like something ancient had just exhaled beneath the waterline. She showed the man at the checkpoint her fake credentials. They worked. For now. He waved her through with a nod too slow to be natural. She watched as he turned and spoke into a small mic behind his lapel. They were already being tracked. But that was part of the plan. Once on board, she was handed a simple metal key. Cabin 514. Jonah's old number. She tried not to react. Inside, the cabin was plain. No decor. No safety guide. Only a bed, a mirror, and an envelope resting on the pillow. Inside, typed in clean serif font. "Welcome back, Leah Moore. We've been waiting." Jonah curled up on the bed, while Leah locked every bolt she could find. But the door wasn't the problem. It was the mirror. There was something wrong with it. It hummed faintly, vibrated when she stepped too close. She covered it with a towel and left the envelope torn open on the table. That night, someone knocked. 3 soft raps. Then silence. She didn't answer. The next morning, the envelope was gone. In its place, another. You still have a choice. Turn around. Let him forget. She tore it in half and began to make calls. Burner phones. Old contacts. Digital traces Eli once taught her to follow. She found a name, Dr. Ansel West, a behavioral technician tied to Nova Cruz's adjustment program, listed as deceased in 2016, but recently relicensed under a new name in Brazil. She tracked a shipment tied to his alias, medical equipment. Destination? The unnamed ship on Deck 9. Behind a hidden panel in the spa corridor, she found another access shaft. Same layout as the last ship. Same cold air. Same feeling of trespassing through someone's unfinished memory. Jonah followed, quiet as snow. They moved past an old communications bay, gutted, then to a sealed hatch. She opened it. Inside, screens. And on those screens, footage. Children in white rooms. wires on their heads, a machine pulsing faint blue light overhead, and names: Subject LM7A, Subject KL4D, Subject JM8C. Jonah. She reached for the keyboard, hands shaking. A video began to play. Archival footage. Interior room. Year unknown. A child no older than 5 sits at a table. A voice off screen. Tell us what you remember. The boy looks down. Another voice. What's your name? He hesitates. Then, Jonah Moore. The voices whisper to each other. Then the first one says, "That's not your name anymore." The boy begins to cry, and the screen cuts to black. Jonah stared, silent. Then he said with perfect clarity, "I remember now." Leah turned to him. "What do you remember?" The other boy, Leo, they made me forget him. But he was real. He pointed to a file name flashing in red. Subject LE9X status, incomplete. They moved deeper into the lower decks, through a cargo shaft that smelled like bleach and cold steel, and found another door. Behind it, cages, not bars, glass, soundproof, rows of them, some empty, some not. In the fourth pod, a boy, older now, pale, eyes glassy, sitting against the wall, drawing circles on the floor. Leah approached. "Leo." The boy didn't look up. Jonah stepped closer. "It's me." Leo stopped, looked up slowly. Tears welled in his eyes. And for the first time in years, he smiled. They opened the cell. An old panel key still worked. Leo stepped out, wobbly. He reached into his pocket and handed Leah a folded paper. It was a drawing of Jonah and Leah and a red door scrawled beneath it. Only she can open it. That's when the alarm sounded. The alarm was not loud. It was soft, mechanical, but somehow more terrifying because of it. Just a gentle, rhythmic chime echoing through the corridors. It didn't scream. It whispered, "They know you're here." Leah grabbed Jonah's hand. Leo's too. No more hiding. No more waiting. Just forward. The lights overhead flickered red. A silent countdown had begun. They rushed down the corridor, floor humming beneath their feet. Every hallway looked the same, but Jonah knew where to go. He kept pointing left, then right, then down again. "We're close," he said. Leah looked at Leo. He just nodded as if he knew too. At the end of the hall was a metal door, painted red, just like the one in Leo's drawing. No handle, no code pad, but beside it, a panel with a scanner. Leah tried pressing her palm to it. Nothing. Jonah stepped forward. It scanned his hand. A soft click. The door opened. Inside, darkness. The walls pulsed with faint light, like veins, and something deeper, like breathing. This wasn't just a room. It was alive. At the center, a chair, straps dangling, wires coiled like snakes across the floor. And beside it, a desk with monitors, all dark except one. A blinking cursor, waiting, a keyboard beside it, dusty but warm. Jonah stepped forward, typed one word, "Remember." The screen went black, then white, then footage began to play. Thousands of clips. Children laughing, children crying, children whispering names of parents that no one let them see again. One clip caught Leah's eye. It was her, in the dining hall, holding Jonah, spinning him in a circle. The date stamped day 2, so they had been recorded. But someone erased it all. Altered logs, erased names, reprogrammed witnesses, wiped memories. A second monitor flickered on. Text appeared. Initiating recall sequence. Subjects recognized JM8C Lu9X. Recall. Leah asked, Leo looked pale. They'll try to take us back. Leah stared at the text. Type, stop. The screen responded. Only authorizing guardian can override. She typed again. Leah Moore. Then, Mother. Password accepted. A voice filled the room. Low. Familiar. Leah, you've come farther than we expected. She looked at the speaker. Nothing there. Just sound. You've remembered too much. I want them all released. That's not how this works. She turned to the boys. No more running. She typed. Release all subjects. Override MKSCA. Delete adjustment files. Confirmation required. A red button pulsed beside the monitor. She slammed her palm on it, all across the lower decks. Doors clicked open. Glass cages hissed and slid apart. Children stepped out, blinking under red lights. Some wept. Some wandered. Some ran. Alarms grew louder. Footsteps echoed down the corridors. But Leah didn't stop. She downloaded every file to her backup drive, ripped it from the port, turned to Jonah and Leo. We're getting off this ship. They ran, deck after deck. No guards, no crew, just lights and sirens and chaos. But someone followed, not security, not crew, a man in black, walking slow behind them. He never spoke, but Jonah looked back and said, He's the one who told me you weren't real. They ducked into a cargo bay. Leo turned. I'll stop him. No, Leah started, but Leo smiled. I remember now. He doesn't scare me anymore. Leah and Jonah bolted through the opposite hall. Jonah was faster now, confident. Leah turned once. Leo stood, staring down the black-suited man. The hall bent. Then the door shut. She didn't hear a sound, just silence. And then they were back on the top deck. The stars were out. The air smelled like salt and gasoline. They reached the lifeboats. One left untouched. She shoved Jonah in. Started the engine. Lights above. Search beams trying to find them. But they were too far now. Slipping into the dark. Floating away. In the distance, she looked back. The ship still loomed, massive and empty. But she saw something else. Dozens of lifeboats being lowered. One by one. Children climbing into them, guided by shadows. Leo among them. He had made it out. Back on land, Leah uploaded the files to 5 places at once. Encrypted, mirrored, protected. She gave interviews, published reports. But few believed her, and fewer dared to help. The world wasn't ready for this truth, but some were. Parents reached out. Strangers who remembered a sibling, a cousin, a child who vanished without trace. She started a group, then a foundation. Jonah healed slowly. He painted. He spoke. He forgave. And every night, Leo whispered to him, I never forgot you. He'd whisper back, I never will. Some stories don't end with justice. They end with silence. And silence is not the same as peace. It hums beneath the floorboards. It rides the wake of every ship that still sails without questions. It waits for people to forget again. But Leah never did, and neither did Jonah. It had been 2 years since they escaped the ship. 2 years since they watched it slip into the fog, disappearing into the international sea lanes with no name, no flag, no consequences. 2 years since they found out truth alone isn't always enough. Not when the lie is this big. Jonah was 10 now. He had grown tall, quiet, curious. He still painted. Only now, the drawings were brighter. Blue skies, open fields, and always, always people would join hands. He called them the rememberers. When Leah asked what that meant, he simply said, they're the ones who don't let go. Leah worked quietly behind the scenes. She had stopped trying to get airtime. The networks never called back. But a podcast listened, then a documentary crew, then a group of retired journalists, ex-cops, and 2 psychologists who had once worked for cruise liners and had quietly quit. They began digging, uncovering other ships, similar disappearances, similar forgotten families. In some cases, entire passenger logs have been rewritten, names swapped, ages changed, children reassigned, and the trail always pointed back to a corporate shell. Nova Cruise dissolved in 2016, rebranded as Advancy International. Same ports, same shipbuilders, same silence. One night, Leah received a package. No return address. Inside, a flash drive and a note. I found more. The drive contained security footage, not from her ship, from another, earlier. A family boarding, 2 parents, a girl and a boy, smiling, holding tickets, talking to crew. Later footage showed the same girl, walking off the ship alone. No one questioned her. No one looked for the others. Their stateroom had been reassigned by the time police checked. Their photos vanished from the digital record. But the girl, she had a name, written in red on a medical folder. Subject KL4D, adjusted successfully. Leah's hands trembled. She called the journalist. He answered. I knew you'd find her, he said. Who? The girl. She's 19 now. In Idaho. Does she remember? Fragments. Dreams. A mother with a blue dress. A boy with freckles. A dining hall. Leah hung up. She packed a bag. She and Jonah flew out the next morning. The girl, her name was Kira, lived in a small house with foster parents. They let Leah in. She sat on the couch, quiet, holding a photo of Jonah. Kira stared at it for a long time, then looked up at Leah and said, I've seen him before. Jonah stepped inside. Kira blinked, then began to cry. I had a brother, she said, but no one believed me. Leah sat beside her. You did. Kira whispered. They told me I imagined him. In the weeks that followed, more came forward. Children once labeled as adjusted, now teenagers, now adults, all remembering pieces. A hallway, a woman's voice, a mother's name whispered in dreams. Some lived in the U.S., some in Canada, others overseas. Different names, same blank spots in memory. But now, finally, the gaps were filling in. Leah began organizing a summit, a meeting of survivors. The rememberers, Jonah called them. She invited Kira, Leo, the others. They met in Oregon, in a small retreat center, away from ports, away from ships. Jonah stood at the front and read a letter. He had written it himself. To the people who took me, you didn't win. You made me forget, but not forever. You tried to erase my mom, but she came back. You tried to erase me, but I grew anyway. You tried to erase my name, but now everyone knows it. And one day, no one will forget again, because we're still here, and we remember. Applause filled the room, not loud, but full of something heavier than sound, full of truth, full of return. In the years that followed, the group grew. A map hung on Leah's wall. Pins placed for every case, every child, every whisper that once had no voice. Red pins meant still missing. Green meant found. Yellow meant still remembering. And slowly, the green began to outnumber the red. But some nights, the sea still called. In Jonah's dreams, in Leah's heart, a low hum, a reminder that the waves still hold secrets. And not every ship has been found. Not every truth recovered. But now they were looking. Now someone was listening. And somewhere beneath a silent, fog-covered ocean, a vessel drifts. Lights off, cameras off, a name etched faintly beneath its rusted frame. Nova Cruise 9. Its cabin's empty. Its room still echoing with erased voices. But on one broken monitor, in the lowest deck, a message flickers on repeat. Subject JM8C. Memory recovered. Mother located. System compromised. Below it, archive terminated. Mission failed. And then, begin see reset. A pause. Then nothing. The screen goes dark. And finally, the ship is still. If the story stayed with you, subscribe. Tell me where in the world you're watching and what time the truth found you.